I want to thank you for watching this podcast. Today we're going to be starting the 14th chapter of the book of 1 Corinthians. But let me just remind you what we talked about yesterday. The very end of chapter 13 ends with this statement: the greatest of these is love. Now, I don't know why they put the chapter divisions where they put them, but actually, I think this next phrase that opens chapter 14 should be in chapter 13, but that's my opinion, my unprofessional opinion. The greatest is love. Now, again, we talked about how the word greatest there doesn't mean in size. It means in durability. It means in sustainability. You know that love covers us. Why? Because love is God, and God is love. And God will endure forever. He is eternal. And so the Apostle Paul opens chapter number 14, verse number 1, with these two words: pursue love. Pursue love. Love should always be the first pursuit of our lives. Now, Paul is talking to Corinthians, and he's talking to Corinthians that are not doing this very well. There's a lot of divisions going on in the church. There's a lot of infighting, a lot of pride. You know, one of the greatest enemies of love is pride. Self-centeredness always takes away from love. And so the Apostle Paul, writing to the Corinthians and consequently writing to you and me today, he makes this statement: the thing that we need to pursue is the thing that endures forever. And it's called love. We as believers need to pursue love. Love for God, yes. But how many of you know God is really not that hard to love? It's that guy down the street. It's that guy that decides to mow his lawn at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning. Or if you're in Michigan, and right now we're getting a lot of snow, it's that guy that snow blows his yard at 6 o'clock in the morning. You understand that love needs to be our pursuit in the here and the now. When we get to heaven, we're going to experience love completely, 100%. We talked about that all this week, that we're going to come to a place of maturity. But right now in the nasty now and now, the Apostle Paul tells us that we need to pursue love. Now, this word pursue, it's the Greek word actually means to chase after. It's actually used in the persecution of Christians. How many of you know the Apostle Paul was chasing after Christians when he met Jesus? We need to chase after with an earnestness to love. An earnestness that says, you know what? I am going to love you no matter what. I'm going to love. You see, love always starts with a decision. It's a decision to love someone else, to put down your own self and begin to love someone unconditionally. Again, the Greek word for love is the Greek word agape. It's not the Greek word phileo, which means brotherly love or an affection. That's something that's conditional. Phileo love is always conditional. Agape love is never conditional. And we as believers need to take to heart these first two words of chapter 14, because it is the center core of the church. It's the center core of our lives that we need to pursue, we need to chase after, no matter how hard it is. Let me ask you a question. You ever found a person that you saying, God, this person is really hard to love? I got my hand up. I've found people that are really hard to love. And you know what? That's when we get to the point where we say, God, help me to love them with your love. You see, the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit comes in and he begins to work in our lives. And one of the evidences of that working is to love unconditionally. Pursue, chase after, earnestly chase after love. The Apostle Paul goes on and he says in verse number 1, yet earnestly desire spiritual gifts. Earnestly. What's the Apostle Paul saying? Is he saying, you know what, just do away with spiritual gifts? Just do away with them. We don't need them. You ever run into a believer that says, we don't need those gifts. We have love. Well, let me say this, that if the gifts are operating in love, they are extremely powerful. You see, the word spiritual here, actually the word gifts is not in the Greek text. The word spiritual here means something that's generated from the Holy Spirit. When the gifts that God gives us are generated from the Holy Spirit, you know what? They are going to be operating in unconditional love. So Paul says, pursue love. But then you know what's going to happen? Then there's going to come this earnest desire for the gifts of the Holy Spirit to operate in your life. Earnestly desire spiritual gifts. Earnestly desire those things that are spirit generated. Have a zeal for. This word is used 12 times. This word earnest is used 12 times in the New Testament. It means to have a very passionate zeal for something. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you had a passionate zeal for the spiritual gifts? Remembering and keeping in mind that the spiritual gifts can be the greatest expression of God's love towards someone else and your love towards someone else. Don't operate the gifts without love, but operate them with love. So pursue love, but then earnestly desire spiritual gifts. And then Paul ends verse number 1, but especially that you may prophesy. Again, to prophesy, it means to speak the heart of God, to introduce someone to who God needs to become real. I hope that you've been blessed with this podcast. God bless you. Thank you for watching.